to order the July 5th, 2023 workshop meeting of Plymouth Township Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so this July 10th continued is actually August, is that correct?
That is correct. So next week's agenda will have it as August 14th, and they'd like it announced again. It is on the bulletin board, and we'll have it where we need to have it. But yes, it's been continued again.
All right. And then the firefighter recognitions for Plymouth, did we?
Yeah,
give that
so
all straight away?
they I guess they forgot from the meeting that we had, but they would like to come, and they do apologize. And so we'll have, Linda redid all the certificates, so you have to sign them all here tonight, but so you could just assign that to someone.
Anybody?
Sure, I'll take it. I don't know who did it last time.
And then we have a 30 years of service resolution for buildings and grounds.
Yes, Dave's in the Parks Department. He very much appreciates the recognition, but he lives really far away. He asked if it would be possible if he's not present, but he would like it read into the minutes. Is that accurate? Yeah.
It's an hour away. You have to drive home, come back. So we just asked if you had to be here. So he did.
He does appreciate it, but it's a long ride back and forth. 5 minutes.
I'll read it into the minutes. We have 3 settlements.
Yes, and it would be good for Mike and Mike.
Just had a question. Because we're having a lot of these and they're kind of lengthy, are we allowed to, or is Mike allowed to just sort of really summarize them, or do they have to be read kind of
Exactly
like they are?
I believe we,
Yeah, I can tell you they have to be read, because one time I did it and I kind of summarized it, and I was told it needed to all be read out. So what he does, he feels he needs to do,
Okay.
and that's the minimal, but they are long. Yeah,
Just trying to streamline the process.
we tried that once.
I just wait for the money pot. That's what I want to know. How much is the township having to lose here?
And then we have the Campbell and Durant engagement letter.
Yes, and again, Mike or Alex suggests that be ratified at the next week's meeting. So somebody has to get that.
Any takers?
I'll do it.
Chief, you have a cumbersome agenda.
You do.
All right. The first one is the military buyback ordinance for first and final.
Yeah, so I can let you know what that is. So that is, the military buyback provision was added to the police contract by an arbitration award, and it never made its way into the township general laws. So our state auditor was out recently and said that we needed to put it in the pension ordinance just to match the contract. And so we went ahead and had Alex prepare, an ordinance. We advertised it. It is ready for first and final consideration.
Is that something that Mike has?
That'll
to
be Mike, yeah.
So nothing's different than what we've been doing. It just has to get put in.
Right, it's a benefit that they have, but our general laws should mirror their pension. Each time they have changes, if it affects the pension plan, it needs to be put in the general laws as well.
And John, we have a handgun bid award.
Yes, I don't know, did you get the memo? So essentially, only 2 people put in for it, and I consulted the solicitor about one of them because they had a bunch of stipulations, they didn't give a check, and I gave you the solicitor's opinion that they should be disqualified. So essentially, we have 1 person there. So I guess the only question is for council, my recommendation was, I still think that we should trade in the older weapons. But I know council wanted to think about that. But either way, it looks like firing line is the only legitimate bidder.
just have to decide whether you want to do the trade-in or not. You could save $23,880 by trading them in, and you make a motion and award that bid next week.
Questions?
No?
So-
Fine with the chief's recommendation?
The 84 and the 23,000 numbers. What's the difference between?
The net at the bottom is, at the very end, is $60,000. It will cost us $60,762.20 with the trade-in.
And that'll be a trade-in, not a destruction.
Right, that's why they were bid, it was bid both ways, so that you would be able to.
So the 84 is the bid if they were to be
All just-
destroyed.
Yes,
23 is what we save.
that's what they'll give us in trade-in.
Trade-in.
Yeah, so it would only cost us $60,700. And if it helps you, the firing line is certified for police weapons, and they would do all the serial work, and they get resold only through the
They're a
proper
law
way.
enforcement dealer, and
Yeah,
yes, it gets sold to them, they sell it legitimately to private consumers. Honestly, when you talk to these dealers, they all say they're not so concerned. I don't think they care what happens to those. They want to make the sale to us. So they're not pushing those guns, because we actually got top dollar. I actually researched this 16 years ago when we bought the 6 hours. We spent over $64,000 in this transaction. We're actually spending $4,000 or less 16 years later. So to them, it's not about whether they resell those weapons, it's what they give them away in part, they might give them away, sell them in parts or sell them in whole. But they will be done legitimately through them. There's no, they're not coming from us.
I'm fine with that. That explanation satisfies me.
Yeah.
Me too.
And how many are we purchasing here, and how many are we trading in total?
I don't have the exact number. The number is about 55 to 60 weapons, because you need spare ones also. When they go down, we get another one, we send the other one out to be fixed. It's the same number that we've traditionally done.
Any questions? And is that, I guess it has to be read, correct? and voted
yes,
on?
the bid award has to be,
Yep.
motion and second and voted on.
Any takers on that one?
I can do that one. So just to make sure I read it correctly, we're awarding first, making a motion for the bid for the Heckler and Koch handguns, and then we're doing a separate motion for the bid.
You could just
For the
read
sale,
that, you could really just
or
read
read
that
them
last
together?
paragraph on the memo. I think that handles it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Because it was bid both ways, so.
Tolling contract extension?
I did confirm with Kevin Boat he's interested in extending the contract. On our part, we're satisfied with his work, so we're also interested in extending it. And we did, just as a matter of course, inspect all his insurance paperwork again and his facilities, and they all still meet compliance.
Is this always done on a year-to-year basis,
I
or?
think it's a 3-year, and you always give the option to extend for a year
Okay.
before you put it back out to whatever towing agencies in Plymouth Township.
Any questions? Other questions?
No, they do need notice in the contract, so this is the month to do it. We have to provide notice not less than 60 days prior to the end of the initial term. So if you want to vote on that, again, give somebody a vote on it, that you want to extend it for another year as per the contract, we can provide them with written notice and, keep it, because otherwise it was going to expire in September, I think.
I'll take that one. Hazard mitigation plan resolution?
Yeah, so this plan is 330 pages long. So I did ask the fire marshal to take a look at it, and I included his, did you guys get his email where he recommended it? So it helps us get, and I guess the whole county and the township getting disaster relief money from FEMA and PEMA. So it keeps us eligible for grants and other funding. So I have received this from the county. They ask every municipality to sign it, adopt it, and send it back to them.
Questions? Any takers on that one?
It's a little long.
I'll take it.
Oh,
Lynn?
Lynn?
It's all right, Lynn, I was going to give it to you anyway.
No worries.
It's
Didn't want to leave you out.
only one page, not 330.
Yeah, we're not going to make you read all 300 pages. Well,
Just 329.
Because I thought I was getting treated at 330.
and then we have the Civil Service Commission Ordinance Amendment. John?
Yes, all I wanted to do here was update what we currently have. I wanted to add some levels of discipline. We basically go from 0 to 60 with nothing in between. So I wanted to add some options, and I wanted to update the fine, which was $75, which at the time it was done was about a day's pay. So I just tried to update it to make it current, which is about $500. Initially, when I proposed this, Marty Higgins was on the board, and he expressed some reservation about this because he was afraid how the collective bargaining unit would take this and didn't want to cause problems. So I told him, and I did. I went to the collective bargaining unit, and I just proposed it to see what they thought, because I'm doing it for their benefit as well as the townships, just to make it fair and thorough. And they looked it over, and they said that they had no problem with it, and there's nothing there that they would fight. So just so that you know that reservation was brought up, and I addressed it, and I believe that we're past that issue now. So basically, this is just updating something that's about 50 years old.
And you don't have to go in order. You can jump if it's a very serious offense. You could jump to a higher level of discipline
Right.
if it warranted.
Right. And the only reason I wanted to update it was because essentially, other than a citation, if I were to suspend somebody, it also takes away their right for a promotion for up to a year. And I thought that was an added discipline that wasn't necessary. So I wanted to add some layers in there that wouldn't prohibit them from taking a promotional exam if it warranted. And that was essentially the whole impetus for even updating.
So are the only changes in the discipline measures, not in the actual infractions? Is there anything in here that's punishable that wasn't in here before?
No, these are just the levels of discipline, just adding a citation with a fine, taking away accrued vacation accrued vacation as opposed to suspension. Just giving us some more latitude there as well, but not what you can discipline for.
Would there be any wait time if they had discipline in their file to take a promotional exam? Or does this remove it?
No, a suspension still
Still in
comes
there.
with
Okay.
not being able to take a promotional exam for up to a year.
Okay.
Good question.
No questions. Thank
So
you.
if you have no questions and you want to update these as recommended by the chief, we would need an ordinance. We didn't prepare one yet. This is an ordinance that's needed. So that's...
So we need to do a motion to update the ordinance, or just let it
this
be done?
This
and
could
then-
come off. This is like, informational.
for-
If you want to update it, that's fine. We would normally say, Alex, can you prepare us an ordinance? So,
I remain the new Alex over here.
This is
This is pointing to
ordinance
when she says
amendment
Alex.
needed, is what I put on mine.
I did want to bring up, I don't mean to speak out of turn, but we did send an email in early June about maybe additional amendments to what Mr. Spears on behalf of the CSC had proposed. Our firm didn't have any issues at all with Chief's proposed additional disciplinary measures, but we thought it might be prudent to add the right to a hearing if that type of discipline is imposed, because otherwise, if someone's has a week of accrued time off taken away from them, they might come back and say there was no due process, you took that from me and I didn't have a hearing. I did send that email to council on June 7th, I believe. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review that or if that should be discussed today.
You think there should be a hearing for
Yeah.
all levels, or just certain levels of discipline? Because a verbal reprimand?
We don't think that's necessary for that, only for the new loss of accrued vacation pay or time off. That was our suggestion, to add the right to a hearing for that. Not for every disciplinary option.
And my understanding is, but I'm not going to vouch, Spears, is that he did acknowledge that and he did say that it was incorporated in here. I believe it's there, but under the circumstances, I probably should make sure that it's in there. But he did acknowledge what you had said, and in our emails to us, he was incorporating that in there. But I'll have to check that specifically.
And I agree with what Chief just said. Mr. Spears did say that he was going to put it in there. However, my concern just stemmed from the amendments that he sent us did not include it. If it turns out that it is in there, then that alleviates our concern.
It will be in the ordinance that y'all draft, though?
It would, yes.
Yeah, I don't think I read it in here. I read this, I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
No.
So everybody's okay to proceed with the drafting of the ordinance?
See that next month.
And will Mr. Spears see the draft ordinance then before we act upon it?
Just to jump off, I'm sorry to keep throwing a wrench into things, but I think we cannot unilaterally amend the CSC's proposed amendments, but the council can. Council's vote on whether to approve the amendments can include authorization for the CSC to revise those amendments as council directs. So it's kind of a workaround of saying we will approve this as long as you amend it in the way we say that you should. But we'll make sure that we draft that ordinance in the proper way. And if that happens that way, it does not have to come back to council.
But it won't have to come back.
The ordinance is going to have to come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll just have first consideration in August, we'll copy Tom, make sure everybody's in agreement before advertising. Then it might be advertised for September, say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just, I guess, I'm sorry, just to make sure I know, the ordinance get drafted by your office or by the civil service solicitor?
We would draft the ordinance.
But the recommendations for it come from the civil service, so they come from you.
I recommend to them, they did approve it, it comes from civil service to you. And I appreciate and I do ask that the township solicitor's office be very much involved with this, so that it's done right. I'm still not clear, to be quite honest, whether what you had said is in here. That's not part of this section specifically, it's another section, so I have to actually get that section as well.
Thank you. Anything else, Chief?
No, I won't do it to you.
More than welcome. All right. Public Works, Sewer, we have a stop sign request.
Yeah, so Chris is on vacation this week, but you can see this came from a resident asking for a stop sign at the top of Lawnfall at Red Rowan. It's a township street. I think we're allowed to put stop signs where we want them. If you look at that neighborhood, all the streets that come up to Red Rowan, there's 3 other streets, they each have a stop sign. For whatever reason, Lawnfall doesn't. If you want to approve one there, the resident says there's near misses and people are running, speeding around the corner. But if you want to do this, then another ordinance is needed because all stop signs are in the code by ordinance. The other 3 have them, and this one doesn't. I don't know why that was.
I mean, I will say,
built that way.
the information, one person has said anything, as long as I can remember. And I did pull any statistics. We have 7 accidents in 3.5 years there. And I think more than half of them were caused by the residents backing out of the driveway into somebody's car, or a delivery truck hitting somebody's car when they're making a delivery. I don't think it's necessary, but there's the information. We're rarely down here.
From a scientific traffic expert standpoint. Just the fact that the other ones do have those 3-way stops in that one. Do you know if there's a specific reason why that was laid out that way, or
I don't.
maybe people requested them in the other ones and nobody ever
I
requested
don't think it's
them?
going to hurt anybody. by
No,
putting the
it'll make it
stop sign
safer.
there.
It's Chris, like, did you ever notice at the top of Skip Road at Church, there's no stop sign.
Yep.
The Church stops, but Skip doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think when I mentioned this to Chris Vascavo, he said, you're always supposed to stop when you approach an intersection. fact that there's not a stop sign there doesn't really alleviate you from having to stop. But people, when they don't have a stop sign, they think they have the ability to whip right around real
They
fast.
may think they have the right of way.
Well, exactly. And they really don't, but they think they do. So, you know.
Yeah, I know sometimes there's a concern about adding stop signs that it actually could make it more dangerous because people aren't used to it. But I don't know, I would like the fact that if the other two streets coming up are laid out one way, that the third be the same way.
This is the fourth. Yeah, three do and one
three,
doesn't.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think in this case it would make it more dangerous. It'll make sense.
And it may or may not cause people to stop.
Well, it's not
If
going to
it-
control
Facebook
speeding, that's
comments
for
or
sure,
any
because you have to really slow
indication.
down to 5 miles an hour or something to cross, make the turns at right angle. So, but you think you want an ordinance for that?
Lynn, any disagreement questions?
No, I like the idea of stop sign. It makes sense to me.
Okay, there's number 2 there. If you need a sample, I can always provide you with one.
I'll find one if I can't find one.
Okay.
I'll reach out to you.
I think we've drafted.
Yeah, it may have done a few. Yeah.
And then will that be up for the August meeting?
Yes, because it would have to be advertised and everything else too.
All right, and then we have this as Karen said, transportation agreement, sewer agreement.
Yes. Yeah, so this is I guess a long-standing issue, hopefully coming to a close, where, like I said last month, there was an agreement made 20-plus years ago where the Governor's Way Estates in Whippane, they said, oh, those houses will kind of equal a couple houses, basically one business on Township Line Road. Because of the size of the building, it was a lot of EDUs, but it has very minimal water. And in exchange for like these 30 houses, and so Whippane sends us bills every month or every quarter for the properties in Plymouth that are hooked to their pipe, but we don't get to send them bills for their properties hooked to our pipe. So this agreement is something that Alex and Roman Pronchek and I have been working on for years, and they're going to take it to their supervisors. I think actually they're meeting tonight, don't they?
I believe they do.
Yeah, and they're tonight, and their voting meeting's on the 18th. We talked about this at the last workshop, and I just wanted to add a start date, which it's proposed to start in January of 2024, with the first billing cycle of that. Plymouth, bills on water consumption, and Whippane has a flat rate for residences. So this just really, in my mind, kind of evens out, or just rights a wrong from the past. But anyway, so that's what this is about. They're also asking to take over with the bill of sale, which is part of this, a pipe in Township Line Road that Plymouth owns. They're offering to take it because most of the flow in the pipe is coming from Whippane. Chris, I mentioned this last time, I think you weren't at the workshop. It would mean that there are 5 properties between like Jolly Road and maybe Plymouth Rock Road that would now have to pay the Whippane price, because people in Plymouth who are connected to Whippane pay whatever Whippane charges us. And so we could step that up like we did before, 60% or our rate, whichever is greater, 80% or our rate, whichever is greater, and 100 each, so in 2 or 3 years to get it to the $95 per household, because Whippane will bill us what they bill, and we will bill on water consumption to the Whippane properties. It's the way everybody else in Plymouth who's connected to Whippane pays. And like the people in White Marsh pay the White Marsh rates, and the people in Whippane pay the Whippane rates, whose sewer connects to those different townships' facilities. Same for Norristown. The only one that doesn't do that right now is Conshohocken Connections. You go to the Conshohocken plant.
Karen, I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you. What's the phase-in plan? I know it wasn't
so
change,
the
change over, they pay 100% right away. Can
Right.
you just say that one more time?
Sure. So the first year, they would pay 60% of the Whip Payne bill or the Plymouth Township bill equivalent, whichever would be higher. The second year, they'd pay 80% of the Whip Payne bill, and the final year, they'd pay 100%, the third year.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that was just to, buffer it in a little bit so people didn't get hit with it. And that conversion was done a number of years ago. When we discovered that, we were paying a lot more to White Marsh Authority for the connections than the people in Plymouth were paying to Plymouth. We were losing money on our sewer rates to the Plymouth properties connected to the White Marsh system. So it was staged in a 3-year period to make it a little bit softer, smoother increase.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember we talked about it, I just couldn't remember what the schedule was. Thank you for repeating it.
Sure.
So just to make sure I have this all straight, this sewer stuff, it's more and more complicated all the time.
It is.
These residents in Plymouth, once this is in effect, are going to get their bill from Whip Payne?
No.
They're still getting the Plymouth Township
Yes.
sewer bill, but the rate will be different.
Correct. Yes.
And do we know that the rate is definitely going to be higher?
Yes, because Whip Payne charges $95 a household, and our average household is more like 60, 65 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But, so I know right now, yes, and unless they are very high water users. If they're very high water users, this bill could be the same as the Whip Payne. We have people that probably pay $90 in a sewer bill. Yeah. So, it depends on their water usage. That's how we bill.
And what's our method for notifying them? Is it just going to be a letter in their bill? Is it going to be a separate mailing so to make sure they don't miss it?
Well, their bill will tell them how much to pay. Now, we can
Right,
explain it in a letter.
I think we should.
Okay.
Just so they're not like, what is this? What happened here? Probably,
Except we'll be in January. We'll start in January. Yeah.
So I guess whenever we're finalized with it here, we should probably let them know. And I would probably say, if we could, maybe in a separate mailing as opposed to just with their sewer bill, because we tend to just, some of us, not read the rest of the stuff that's in the bill.
Let's look at the amount.
No offense, there's a lot of Parks and Rec stuff.
I was going to say, don't tell. Yes, we can send them a first-class letter and explain it.
There's only 5 households, right?
Right. And one business.
And one business.
Aren't there more listed? I'm looking at this agreement, and it looks like there's like 15 or so.
So
Are
there's
those aren't the 5 you're talking about?
no. So there's 37 properties in Whip Payne, Whip Payne properties connected to the Plymouth pipes, and there's 17 Plymouth residences or businesses connected to the Whip Payne pipes. So there's 20 that we were losing on 20. It nets out to 20 that we didn't get any payment for 20 Whip Payne properties that were in Plymouth pipes. The 5 that I'm talking about are, if you look at the bill of sale, and there's a little map. I think I asked Linda to put it in color for you. Yeah. Do you see this thing with the pipes here? And Lynn can't see it, but it's attached to 5-023, and it shows you where the pipes are, and it shows the 5 properties are the ones right now that say. I know I wrote it down on my paper here. One of my papers. So many papers. It's the properties at like 510 Township Line Road. That one's already done. 710, 720, 722 Township Line Road. They're the ones. So they're the 5 that if we sell the pipe for $1, if we give the pipe to Whip Payne, they will then be in Whip Payne's pipe instead of being in our pipe. They're the ones whose rates will go up. But otherwise, we do get to bill 37 properties that we never got to bill before.
Got it. Thank you.
They want the pipe. I asked why they wanted the pipe, and Alex last time told me to ask Roman, so I did. You want to get involved because of the representation stuff. So Roman said because, well, most of the flow is from Whitpain. There's a large amount of flow, all from Whitpain, but if it has I&I in it, which is inflow and infiltration, groundwater or rainwater getting into the pipes, they want to be able to fix it and not be charged for it because we do charge them for all the flow coming through that meter. So it makes sense. Even though we own the pipe, they have a lot more flow in it. So.
Any other questions? So we need to do what on that?
Motion and a vote to.
For next week?
Yeah, if you're ready, because
Is that Mike reads that, or because it's an agreement?
I would think you could summarize it.
Hopefully.
I'm sorry, just one more question. This is the precedent that's set with other parts of the township that go to other municipalities
Yes.
too, correct? We're just doing it the same way that the other
Yes.
addresses have done
Yeah,
before.
the difference with these 5 is, like, right now, we own the pipe, so their flow is going into our pipe, which yours does, mine does. If we sell the pipe to Whitpain, or give it to them, a bill of sale, then it's their pipe. So now they are going to charge us for those people in their pipe.
Got it.
But people, yeah, everybody there are others that are, so, I don't know if you know, the 2 office buildings, say 532 and 526 Township Line Road, they're the ones Philomeno and Salmo built there, they, by like Penland Bluebell Pike when it hits, like right around that area. They've been connected, they've been paying the Whitpain prices, because whatever Whitpain charges us, we charge them. Years ago, we did that with the 60, 80, 100%, and now they pay. There's a lot of properties in Plymouth that are connected, and every quarter, Whitpain charges us, and we charge those residents exactly how much we're paying. We don't mark it up, but they do have to, they have to pay what it is. Just like the people who are hooked to the White Marsh system pay whatever White Marsh charges. White Marsh sends us all the bills. We just turn around and make those bills to our residents for that same amount of money, so we don't lose money. We were losing lots of money. Or you could say everybody in Plymouth was paying the same rate, but it cost a lot more money to send the sewage to the White Marsh, the Whitpain, the Norristown, or the Conshohocken treatment plants than if it went to the East Norton Plymouth plant. So, that was a council decision many years ago to make everybody, instead of all residents paying the same rates, make everybody pay what it costs.
Ed?
Except Conshohocken,
Except
right?
Conshohocken.
They get a break.
They get a break. Because council at the time decided not to include the Conshohocken people.
All right, anything else, Public Works? Mr. Manai?
I do have something. Karen, in response to your question there about sidewalks, I'm looking at a review letter that our office did on November 15th, 2021, which called for the requirement for curbs and sidewalks along the Butler Pike frontage and along the interior streets. I can't find the plan. I can't, with this laptop, I can't pull up the plan that would show them on it, but anyway, so, and this letter was in response to the second submission of the plan. So it's been revised once, and then this review came out. So we're still calling for curbs and sidewalks along those frontages. Where it went from there, I
Don't know
can't.
if it got waived.
Yeah, I can't pull that information
Or
up
put
yet.
on the
But
plan.
So Karen, you'll
But-
look to see if there was ever a waiver of...
Or if it was put on the plan.
Correct. Thanks, Karen. I appreciate it.
the second time that we reviewed the plans, we continued to ask for these amenities. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for looking that up.
All right. Subdivision land development, we're going down to Sandy Hill.
correct, for the first one?
Yes.
That's Nick.
Mhm.
And 2516 Butler.
So that's really going to be Mike because it's going to be a conditional approval. Which means, Derek, and it's a short week, sorry, but we're going to need a conditional approval resolution for the Miller Residence project.
Now, what about the waivers that they're asking for?
You discuss them right now and see whether you should put them in deny them or say they're in the resolution. You can say they're going to be denied, or you could sometimes the resolution is written with approval and denial, and we circle one depending on what you vote on next week, or if you direct council to do it tonight, that you don't want a waiver for that, then they can write the ordinance, the resolution that way. That waiver will be denied. It's up to council.
I'm sorry, if we take action, it'll be denied, or if we take no action?
They're requesting a waiver, so in the resolution, it'll be listed whether that waiver will be granted or denied. You'll probably approve the simple subdivision lot line, it's a
Correct.
parcel, they want to just make a new parcel with their side yard, which is fine, but it's up to you whether you grant or deny each of the requested waivers. Let me see how many of them they have. They're asking for, the first one is to show all storm sewers within 200 feet. I don't know if you guys have planned on that one or not, but
We usually don't.
usually
Don't need that.
That's okay, right?
Yeah,
You usually
that's
would
okay.
grant that first waiver request. Then having Collector Street, which Butler Pike is, to have curbs and sidewalks. That's the one you're looking at, Karen, right?
Right, because we're now going to have sidewalks along Butler Pike from the new development that's going in at the Powell property next door to Harriet Wetherill.
Well, we're not sure yet what's happening there, right? with sidewalks.
All right, you're going to.
I'm going to look it up, tell you.
Thank you.
And you don't have to know this tonight because the resolution could be, you could list these waivers and you could put, granted or denied. And next week, vote on them individually and we'll circle them as, they get voted on. Unless, for sure you don't want them, you can just, you can just deny it.
I think my concern is that there's a lot of development going on and nobody wanting to put in sidewalks. And we have a 2040 plan to make Plymouth a walkable community with sidewalks. And so we have an ordinance that we just are never going to enforce.
Right.
And that's of concern to me.
And the other thing to remember is this is a county road and they would need their highway occupancy permit from Montgomery County. So if the county, if the county for whatever reason didn't want a sidewalk or a curb, they have to get the permit from that.
Yeah.
Right?
Butler Pike, the permits come from the county.
So, you could have your recommendation, but
Yeah.
you could say put it in. If for any reason the county said no, then the answer
That
would be no,
overrules
because it's
us.
in their right of
Yeah.
way, not ours,
Oh, okay.
Should we, if that's the case, should we not confirm what the county wants before we make a decision and say we either approve the waiver or we deny the waiver? If the county supersedes us, shouldn't we just know what the county has to say about it?
No, I think you should, I'm sorry, Lynn, this is Lonnie Manai. I would recommend that if you want sidewalks, then you recommend to the county that you want sidewalks. If you wait for the county and they don't want them, then they're gone. This way, if you make your recommendation to put the sidewalks in, maybe that sways them to see it your way.
I see.
Okay.
So they could override us, but if we let our preference be known, that may sway their decision.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Lonnie.
Yeah, and then take a peek at the county letter, which is attached, and they talk about the right-of-way. It's really, wasn't so much about the front yard, it's more about the backyard, and the turnpike possible widening, but they didn't mention anything about that. But I agree with Lonnie, too. I think you let your preferences be known, but the ultimate decision on that will be theirs.
That is a tricky area, that Cold Point curve.
Sure,
There's a-
it is. It's dangerous over there. You can't, I mean, you have to go slowly.
Oh, I know, you
You're
can't even
25.
turn right on Narcissa, although I've seen the cars that have attempted it,
I've seen them too.
because they stay there.
They do stay there.
Yeah.
I believe that, if that other development is going to have sidewalks and curbs along Butler Pike, then we shouldn't waive these. If the other one doesn't have sidewalks and curbs along Butler Pike, I get the argument of like
Yeah.
kind of a sidewalk to nowhere.
Exactly.
But if they're, whatever we do with one, we should do with both.
Okay, keep consistent.
Yeah. I just think at some point too, like I'm with Karen, if we have an ordinance that says people should be putting in sidewalks and curbs, but we keep waiving it, like at some point, we just have to get started. Like, we'll never have sidewalks and curbs if we don't get started somewhere. I mean, even if it's 40 years down the road, eventually maybe everybody has them, but if we don't get started, we'll never have them. And if we selectively enforce it, like some, for some we say yes, for some we say no, then to me, like we're picking and choosing for random reasons versus treating everyone the same way on the topic.
Are you for the planning agency?
Yes.
I think they're in the room down the hall.
Down the hall.
I was wondering what development was not on the agenda.
That's the Miller Residence project. Is the only thing on the agenda for the planning agency tonight. All right. Okay, so I will check to see what's on that Powell property,
Right.
and you might want to keep it consistent.
Because I agree with Chris. on that,
Consistency in that, yeah.
Sidewalks. I mean, we do have sidewalks to nowhere. There's
Yeah.
the one on Hickory Road that,
There are plenty.
there's plenty. Jolly Road has them.
White's Road has them. They're around.
And once we get enough sidewalks to nowhere,
Hickory
that
Road
eventually
has
they'll
one.
start becoming sidewalks to somewhere.
Yes, it's true. It's the bad part about leaving them out forever.
All right. Any other ones? Any other thing on that one?
No.
All right. Outback, 322 Ridge.
Oh, wait, we skipped one.
Sorry.
Yep.
502 Germantown.
That's Lynn. That'll be yours, Lynn. It's
Yes,
just
thank you.
a basic extension of their land development.
And then 322 Ridge.
And that's Kathy. And
Kathy will be here, right?
she will. She said she'd be back.
And 845 Germantown.
That's yours, Chris, isn't it? Your area.
Any questions on any of those?
They're all simple extensions of land developments under review.
All right. And then 3 more extension requests.
Yeah, so these are projects that have been conditionally approved but not yet recorded.
Exeter is Lynn.
Yes.
Danella is
Lynn. It is Lynn. I just, do bring to your attention, it's a very old project, but it was on their plan. They were not aware that they should have been asking for additional extensions through the years, so we did talk to Alex on this one, and he suggested that they write a letter to council and explain that, and also have the township engineer review, since it's been quite a number of years, like 22 or 3 years since they built this or recorded their plan, to see if there are any other like stormwater ordinances or anything new that has happened that would change anything of the review from that long ago. And Tim's letters in your books as well, so he's fine with it. They were unaware and are asking for an extension to July 1st of next year to complete this smaller outbuilding storage building. It's just to replace a storage building that was on there, and the plan said future building where they would take down the one storage building and build the next one a little bit larger. But
So that's not going to affect any impervious coverage
No.
and the sinkhole on Butler Pike.
no, it's on top of
Former sinkhole.
their yard. Like they built that giant office building. They put all the
Yeah.
curbs, the sidewalks, the big parking lot in. They did almost everything, and the plan said future building on it. It just Took them a while to get to the future.
Yeah, the new building is nice.
Yeah.
So that's Lynn,
That's Lynn, yeah.
and Royal Farms is
Nick.
And then 3 escrow releases that are
First one is
Nick.
Nick
me.
and Chris. And then Lynn.
Anything else for land development? Not on you?
No.
Mr. Wallace?
Sir.
Nothing?
Well, we get the call about Cat, I think that's later
That
on.
later. And zoning is just a continued,
It is
pre-continued?
continued pre.
Do we have to,
Some more people looking for. If you're looking for the planning commission. Land.
You said that.
Do that red button. Keep it alive.
Give it to Joel, he'll get back to you.
Yeah. Thanks. We only have one recording machine. There's a planning agency meeting.
Excuse me, I have to go to,
your work
if it's okay, I go to.
Your work is done. The pre-continuation, do we need to announce that? Should we announce
It
it?
probably wouldn't hurt.
I'll give that to Kathy.
I'll jot it. We'll put it on here.
Parks and Rec, upcoming events.
I'll take that one.
Nick?
Remember, there's a concert tonight. You're down the road, there's Big Baby's out there. Saturday night.
Who's that again?
Big Baby.
Just wanted you to hear you say that again.
Kids from the 60s and stuff.
Okay.
Just a remember.
Great job with Township Day, too, by the way. Seemed like a
Yeah,
pretty
it was
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have to report that.
He's got to have his phone. He's going to record on his phone.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then this proclamation for Park and Rec Professionals Day.
Yep. We'll be here, the staff that are here coming in. So thank you.
Anybody want to read that?
We'll do that.
I'll take it.
Oop, I think Karen took it.
Too late, Lynn.
No.
Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, you've got a lot of land development, though.
Phil, anything additional?
Now, just a reminder that the Tots are having a good summer. A lot of kids. Playground camps up to 100 people. First time post-COVID. It's perfect.
Outstanding. No more rain this summer, so everything should
Yeah, we're smoking.
Oh, no, we're smoking.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We have 3 citizen board vacancy announcements.
I'll do it.
We have this item here about holiday ceremonies.
Yeah, so
I guess this came from Mike.
it came from Lynn.
Nope.
And Lynn, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the Anti-Defamation League guidelines that I put in the books.
I did.
Okay. So, it turns out, the Supreme Court decided that a Christmas tree is not a religious item. Not so. But this does say if you want to have, never acceptable, the religious stuff. Mixed religious and non-religious, you have to have more non-religious things to outweigh the religious things. And then you can have non-religious seasonal displays with reindeer and snowflakes and snowmen and Christmas trees. Every year they send this to us, and we do the same. So inside the community center, I think you have a menorah. Don't know if you have a creche, but if you have one, you should have. That's what they're saying, right?
You have a
If you have
tree.
one, then you should have the other. A tree isn't religious, so you can have a tree without leaving anybody else out. you know. But
Just my thought, like where this came from, and thank you, Karen, for sharing this. I noticed last year that Conshohocken, for example, did a Christmas tree lighting and a menorah lighting. And I know that, the county did as well. And I thought, we have we have a diverse population in Plymouth. We have a significant Jewish population. And I thought, since we do a Christmas tree lighting, should we also consider a menorah lighting, some ceremonial acknowledgement of Kwanzaa? Like, did we want to consider those things as part of our, more formal holiday celebration? I certainly want us to be in line with these guidelines. And I wasn't aware that a Christmas tree wasn't considered religious, but that's where this came from. I just thought it might be nice to at least consider those things. I know others around us are doing them, and as I said, we've got a diverse population. I thought we might want to consider the same.
if you add one religious thing, you probably should add another religious thing, say like a live nativity or a creche. You shouldn't have one religious without another religious.
If the Christmas tree is not religious and we do a menorah, then I think we almost have to do a creche and a Kwanzaa. And I don't know if there's a Muslim holiday that's equivalent or not. But and we do put red, white, and blue lights on our tree, so it looks more patriotic, I guess, than.
Is that the idea of that?
That's absolutely.
That was the idea.
And that's why we have the tree up there.
We don't put a star on the top or anything.
Well, we do
that-
have a star now, that's a lighted star. So, yeah, we just added that. But the whole idea of doing
Does
the
that make it
tree.
religious?
No, star's a star.
Okay.
I would call
It's
a
more
star
like
a star.
Snowman.
I'd say if you put an angel on top of the tree, that'd be more religious than, but a star would just be
right,
a
an
star.
angel would be.
Yeah, you're right.
But that's why the tree is there, as opposed to being at the township building in the front here. It gets people to the service and devotion building. Monument, you're right, the lights are all red, white, and blue. And it's planned that way.
Yeah, candidly, I wasn't looking to create something that had a domino effect where potentially certain groups felt left out. I was looking to create something that felt more inclusive, not less inclusive. So maybe we leave well enough alone if a Christmas tree is not considered a religious symbol.
Yeah, I was surprised that it's not religious, but.
No, it's more secular. The nativity is
Well,
always seen as the religious center.
And it does date to pagan
Christmas.
times anyway.
Mhm.
The tree is a symbol of evergreen trees as a winter symbol.
I was surprised to learn that the Supreme Court ruled on it, But I've known that for a few years now, because we get this every year. This we pulled off from their website, but every year they send us a letter to make sure that we follow, the rules or the guidelines, so that we're not offending or, doing the wrong thing.
Does that answer your questions, Lynn?
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I was just looking for us to consider something that felt more inclusive, but it seems like in trying to be more inclusive, we actually might feel more exclusive, so maybe we leave well enough alone.
I guess we can continue to kick around any ideas if we have any other thoughts along that line, the inclusivity line, between now and then.
Fair enough.
Okay. And then we have another item on here for enhanced communication. Lynn, was this you too?
That's me too.
That's all right.
Yeah, so I think a lot about how we're communicating with folks and letting them know things that are happening in the township. A lot of times I think there are ordinance that we've passed or things that we're considering or opportunities where we might want to hold a town hall to let gather feedback and input, let people be part of conversations. And I think it's difficult for us to do that. I think the community center does a really good job of both having messaging where they push things out to people who are interested, and then create spaces where people could go and pull information when they are interested. But I think the township as a whole, we have our website, but there's not necessarily, I don't think, an easy way to push information out to folks who are looking for more. And I know White Marsh has a system where you can go on and sign up and say, hey, tell me anytime there's whatever, information about X. And you actually then sign up so that they'll push messages of interest to you when they're available. And I was just thinking we might be able to create a more, a more streamlined and available communication avenue, both for where we push information to people who are interested, but also where people can pull information more easily, like user-friendly information about what's happening, current events, what's happening in the township. So I didn't know if that's something maybe, and whether, Karen, whether that's a LEN issue or like how we create something on our website that looks like what Whitemarsh has done. Maybe we work off of what the community center's already created. Like, so they've created great spaces where they're both pushing and creating, pull resources. But that's my thinking. I think we can be more communicative about things that are happening. So the question is, are we willing to create something like that?
Yes, and it is a LEN issue, and I let him know in advance, and he's going to speak in a minute. But Whitemarsh and Whitpain both use a website designer company that we've looked at before. But you want to pick it up, or you want me to keep talking?
Sure, no, that's fine. The company they use is Civic Plus. We had maybe last year we started looking to redesign our website to update our offerings, and then the building happened, and we decided to postpone any kind of spending along those lines for now. But those what you're speaking about, Lynn, we were looking to include in our new web design. We are looking to do that in 2024 based on budgetary restraints and so forth. But that's definitely something we were looking at, and we can continue to look at. We do push things out through Facebook, if asked. We don't really know what you'd like out there other than what's here. Can you please post? This is what we'll do. So anything along those lines, if you want it out there, we can get it out there on Facebook and our website.
Yeah, and that's how we're communicating now. But like you say, that means people have to come to the website to look. Whereas maybe some people prefer to get an email every day. The way you have your constant contact email situation here at the community center, people sign up for it, and then they're going to get that email, and
Yeah, I know I get text and emails because I signed up to get them from the community center.
Yes, right.
But,
And I did
but
too.
it's my choice. If I don't want my
Exactly.
inbox filled with things, I wouldn't have signed up for it.
Exactly, right.
I think it's a
just the
good, and I think the community center model is a good example. I think that other townships are a good example. I think that, to Len's point, I feel like we've added a lot of, and some of it's been requested by us over the years, but we've added a lot of content to the website, but probably the site that we have right now maybe isn't set up the best way to handle all that. So if we're going to do a redesign anyway, it might be a good opportunity to kind of mesh all of that together. And then we can come up with, if we're going to do some kind of a subscription or push notification, I guess, we could come up with what we would want to include in that, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Right now, if anybody has any questions regarding anything within the township, there's a eGov link that you go to and ask that question, and then it goes to the pertinent department head, and they respond within so many days. And if they don't respond, we get notified, and we nudge them along to make sure we're getting everything out there.
Yeah, that's what I included behind this, but that's, if you want to make a general complaint or a general suggestion, report a street light out or a pothole, they can do that. But again, that's them coming to us versus us pushing something out to them. So we do hear you. Yeah, and if we were talking about redesigning the website anyway, it's been a number of years.
And along the same lines of pushing information out, our TV station is dead. Equipment has failed, and we haven't done anything with it because of that building. And where we're at with what they're bringing in some technology with the building, But we'd have to spend money to update what we have lost with equipment now. And that's tens of thousands of dollars. So that's kind of where we're at. We've only had one complaint. This is why we haven't done anything with the TV. We had one complaint in 8 months. The TV doesn't work.
She doesn't have a computer. One resident doesn't have a computer.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
it's for the television set.
look, we can obviously talk about some of this stuff a little bit later when we get into the budget, but I mean, we're going to have this new building,
Yeah.
potentially newly designed website. I think we should take a serious look at all the ways that we get the information out, and if we have the ability to do it, we shouldn't be, we should be with the times.
Yes.
Or ahead, not behind.
Yeah.
But I think it sounds to me like, and Lynn, I don't know if you agree, it sounds like it's a good collective opportunity to look at all that as we come up with it.
Yep, absolutely, yep.
'Cause I think it's a good point. People like stuff thrown in front of them and not necessarily have to go search for it. And personally, I mean, Facebook's great and all, but I think that it's had its moment. There's better ways. It's long had its
Yeah.
moment. Long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people will go hunt for things, but other people won't. And I think it's nice to have things pushed out when you know the person wants it, if you know they're interested. Number one. And number two, I just think that we oftentimes there's some good things happening, and it's just hard to let people know. If we don't do a good job of communicating some of the positive things happening in the township, some of the great work being done by our township staff. There's all kinds of things that we could share. I think that would be of interest to people, and push messages out that we know they're interested. If someone says they're interested in anything the EAB does, let's push that out. If they're interested in more from the community center, let's push that out.
Phil, how do you guys sort of just send email blasts to your members? Is that general?
We have Constant Contact, which does that. We try to monitor it so we don't send like 3 in a row. In the beginning, we started doing it by like somebody was interested in the pool, somebody was interested in the parks, an area of Rutherall, but it's kind of evolved and we just put it all in one. We try to get folks to put a couple in one email to save it. So, but I mean, the social media is a big help, not just Facebook, because we have things now. So, but we do 2 to 4 Facebook posts a day. But we have a software that manages the social media, so it puts it all out there together called Canva, which helps us. You can sit down, even I can use it, so you can sit down and make it, and then set up a time, and it sends it out for you. So the technology really does the work. And the staff just has to come up with the content. And I'd still like to do more. I mean, we are very fortunate, but there's other things we'd like to do, like be more consistent. So I think it helps. And a lot of you've heard me say this, we need as a township to do a better job of telling people what a good job we do. And I've said that before, and of course you've heard me say that. Because people they don't care. And if you tell them, they're going to start to care and realize what a good value it is to live here. So.
Another thing I was thinking perhaps that the community center could add is whenever our new representative, Greg Scott, is here.
Yeah,
because a number of people have been coming.
Yep.
A lot of people are coming and getting their senior passes.
Yeah.
I think I forget how many they had.
That's this Tuesday. We could do that.
Right, and so I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. I mean, we offer the space. It's something that
Right.
Greg Scott's office is doing, but they're providing a lot of services, including,
Yeah.
getting your senior transportation pass.
And what we can do with that is he probably mentions it on his social media.
He does.
So we could reshare it, so that's not hard.
It's a great idea.
So I'll look at that.
If you want, I get his messages all the time, and I do have Brandon put them on the website and our social media, but I could include you,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you can put it on yours
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
I get all of his messages get posted on our website, but like I say, you might want it
It's
pushed
just
to
a
them
reminder,
instead of
right?
just,
Like
yeah.
the concerts. Oh, it's Wednesday's concert. I meant to go, but I forgot about it. A little bit of a reminder.
I mean, Lynn, I think we should definitely continue to talk about it because, I I agree. We gotta tell people what's going on and what we've already done and what we continue to do.
Well,
Easy
I'd be
to do.
happy to be part of the ongoing conversation,
Thanks for bringing it up.
of course.
Anything additional?
What she was talking about. Cross townships or, she had a number for
Was there something else?
you. You were talking about increasing
no,
communication
nothing else.
between townships.
Nothing?
That we share a border with, so.
All right.
I do have one more thing. It didn't make it to the agenda because of timing, and it is a request for authorization to purchase a computer server that was in the budget, but I bring everything back to you just because of the dollar value. It's $260,000, $259,100 for a server. And Len could tell us about this server that we need. It was a budgeted item, but like I said, and approved at the budget, but just because it's over $10,000, we come back and ask you for authorization to, proceed with the purchase. Len, do you want to mention what this server is for? I know you told me everything, but, or what it's replacing, or
The server is replacing our compelling storage array. What it does, it holds all our data, the entire township's data, video, pictures, whatever may be there. This form, this printout here, everything is in that. We're running out of space in there. The technology now, because we bought it years ago, it is now end of life. So I can't, in good faith, add to that because it's end of life. They will no longer support that. So it's time to replace. And that's why that number is huge.
But it's in the budget.
it is in the budget, and you approved that last year. Yeah, it is a budget. It was a capital item in the budget. Their quote is only good till the end of the month. It was the 30-day quote. So anyway.
And it's
that's-
below what we originally budgeted?
But because we're not replacing the telephone system this year, so there's $430,000 in the budget for the phone system and this computer. But we're not going to be doing the phone system this year because we're getting close to finishing the building this year. But I don't know that we'll be ready for the phone system. So the money, there's $430,000 in there. This is $259,000. So there is money in capital that we can use. Just have to come up with a little more phone money in next year's budget. So do we have authorization for that?
Well, I think we have to.
I know we have to, but
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else before we move to executive session? All right, adjourn.